You may have heard this apparently ancient Greek proverb. A society grows great when old men plant trees in whose shade they know they shall never sit. Whether it is a real ancient Greek proverb or not, I think it is a point worth exploring, if nothing more than an echoed concern from the collective psyche of society, because it speaks to the inheritance of the living from their past and their duty to the future. I think it's the question of the continuity of our own civilization. Do we have a responsibility to the civilization into which we are born? It's a strange question, but I think it is worth consideration, because the forces of atomization seem to be all around us. Eat the bugs, live in the pod, consume Netflix. What does this translate to? Basically, abandon your relationships, don't improve, don't reproduce. And does that sustain a civilization? Can't help but feel that the answer is probably not, especially as the other countries around us aren't displaying this kind of weakness. And a weakness it is. I don't want to sound preachy about it, but we do have to kind of face the facts at some point. We are a civilization that is riddled with vice. We eat too much, we drink too much, we take drugs too much, we use the internet too much, that's you. We offload personal responsibilities to others too much, and we don't even pay lip service to virtue anymore. We treat the vice itself as if it is good. We venerate that which has been traditionally considered sinful. You've probably seen the memes circulating, comparing the recruiting ads for the Russian and Chinese militaries to the progressive recruiting ads of the United States and the United Kingdom.
Что ты знаешь о себе? На что ты способен? Познать границы своих возможностей. К черту границы.
我们用生命扛起使命，我们用忠诚。
It begins in California, with a little girl raised by two moms. I also marched for equality. I like to think I've been defending freedom from an early age, and then attended UC Davis, where I joined a sorority full of other strong women.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
The difference is stark and meaningful. This isn't to say that China and Russia are lands full of virtuous men of high character, but they at least still recognize that virtue is a good and appeal to it, unlike the Western militaries, who seem to think that appealing to the self-centeredness of millennials will breed capable soldiers. However, the soldier who fights only for himself is little more than a mercenary. If you'll allow me to quote Machiavelli for a moment, he says, "The fact is, they have no other attraction or reason for keeping the field than a trifle of stipend, which is not sufficient to make them willing to die for you. They are ready enough to be your soldiers whilst you do not make war, but if war comes, they take themselves off or run from the foe." As a civilization, the West isn't looking very strong right now. We've just had a year of economic destruction because of the lockdowns. We are more politically divided than at any other time in living memory. So it might be time to take our civilizational responsibility a bit more seriously. Some might say in response to this, well, I didn't ask to be born. Why should I have this forced upon me? This is the tyranny of the dead over the living. I deserve my freedom to indulge in vice. If your position is, I didn't ask to be born, you were born. You sound like a child, life isn't fair, and nature imposes upon us some things against our will. The need to work to exist is one of those things. The need to defend what we have is another. Having some constraints and boundaries is actually a good thing, and being given obligation imbues your life with meaning. It gives you reason to do something other than mindlessly consume. It is what makes you happy. You actually, and I dread to use this term, need to check your privileges. Seriously, you are actually quite lucky. You're in a very envious position, and you wish to squander this instead of paying it forward. You want to just check out and just indulge. That's remarkably selfish. And what's more, do you think that's going to last forever? History is replete with indulgent classes being overthrown. Instead of that happening to us, Might be worth paying it forward. Doing your part is an obligation, and part of that is taking care of yourself. If you don't want to do your part here, then maybe you should go somewhere where you do want to participate. And I'm not even speaking about politics now. I mean you on a personal level. You are part of the fabric of society, or you're a burden on it. And when a sufficient number of people fail to do their part to uphold our social institutions, what then? Nothing good, presumably. What trees are you planting for the young to grow up under, old man? I do think we need to start taking a more civilizational view of the world and our place in it. And that starts with analysing the people who are now living and their relationship with the dead and those yet to be born. Burning up our inheritance to prevent future generations from enjoying our patrimony seems like it isn't prudent at the very least. What were they inheriting, and what are we bequeathing? We seem to be squandering the inheritance of a millennium on a new moral fad, and it seems to have left us in quite a sorry state right now, doesn't it? Our civilization is built on standards, things we exclude, certain behaviours, and these seem to be all the things that the left is on a mad crusade to normalise. It is not hard to find left-wing attempts to break down your resistance to any vice. Drugs, alcohol, pornography, promiscuity, sloth, selfishness, anything of all kinds are promoted as if they are good. Abortion, abscondment, and an array of alternative lifestyles justify you not taking your decisions seriously in your capacity as an agent of civilization. And I think this is allowing our civilization to fall into rack and ruin. It's not that these vices need to be abolished, which I don't even think is possible. It's that we need to recognize that our vices are, 1, not inherently good, they are guilty pleasures. 2, we should enjoy them in moderation. And 3, we have a responsibility to maintain and improve our virtues. If we don't move towards a restoration of these standards, I do actually dread to think of the consequences our grandchildren will be forced to face. It's time to plant those trees, folks, and that begins with you. I thought it was pretty good too.